What I'm going to do is in cell I3, you can see that right here, what I'm going to do is write a formula that is going to tell me how many hours that Brian worked, my cook. Okay, so how do I do that? Well, what I need to do is say I want cell I3 to equal, okay, and I'm just telling, remember, I'm given very, very simple instructions to a very logical program. So what I'm telling it basically is I3, I want you to look like this set of information, okay? How do I do that? I just say equals, okay, and then I start with the first range, or then I'm going to put sum, okay, and then I'm going to put parentheses, left parentheses, and I'm going to say the first cell in my range of cells, which will be C3 for Brian. So C3, and then I'm going to hit the colon button, okay, which is just the two dots, which is you hold Shift key, it's right next to the L key on your keyboard. So Shift and L, or Shift and that colon button. And then I'm going to choose the last cell in my range of cells, which would be G3. Okay, so G3. And now I've got that. You can see there's a box, a blue box that's been drawn around all these cells. Okay, that's telling me that this is the range of cells I'm looking at. So I'm going to finish it out by closing my parentheses. Okay, now let me explain exactly the very logical, simple instructions here that we're giving the program Excel. If you look at my cell I3 here, I've used the symbol equals. Okay, equals just means, hey, I want you to look like this. I want you to equal to this. Okay, so equals. Sum just means to add. I'm sure everybody remembers that from elementary school. You know, sum means add. So we're saying equal the sum of, so add all these. Parentheses is saying, hey, I'm getting ready to give you a range of cells. And then C3 is the first cell in that range of cells. Colon just means through. And then we're giving it the last cell in the range of cells. And then we're closing our parentheses, and we're just telling Excel, this is the end of the sequence of cells that I want you to add or total together. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, feel free to rewind this portion and look at that. But now all I have to do is hit enter, and it goes ahead and totals up my hours for me. Okay? So now let's just try that again, just so that we got a little bit of practice. We're going to take Chris, who's my head waiter, and I'm going to write a formula that shows Chris's hours for the week. Okay? And I'm going to start off with the equal sign, and then I'm going to write the word sum, and then I'm going to hit parentheses, left parentheses. So I'm saying I want you to equal the sum of, and then I'm getting ready to give you a range of cells. The first cell is C4 for Chris, and then colon just means through, so C4 through G4, okay, which is the last cell in the range of cells. And then I'm just going to finish that up with capping my parentheses, which says, okay, we're done giving you this range, and then I'm just going to hit enter. Okay. Now you have learned a fairly simple formula within Excel. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, hey, wait a second, by the time I write formulas for every single person, if I got 1,000 employees, it will take me just as long to write all those formulas out for everybody as it would for me just get out a calculator, bang, bang, bang. Yes, absolutely true. You're absolutely right. So, Excel has a wonderful function in it called autofill, okay? How do we use autofill? Well, we place our cursor. If you can zoom right in here on my white cursor, the white plus sign. What we're going to do is we're going to place our cursor. If you look at the cell, you can see that there's a tiny black box at the bottom right of each cell when it's selected. Okay. So we've got. Let's just say we've already written the formula for this cell right here. This is I4. So if I put my cursor right at the bottom right over that little black box, oh, my cursor changed its icon, which means it's now changed its functionality, okay? So now I'm just going to click on that, and I'm going to drag it straight down, and boom. It goes ahead and fills in all of those formulas for me, and it totals it up for me. Okay? Really simple, right? That is extremely beneficial. If you've got 1,000 employees and you've got to do that, you just put in your first formula on the first line, and then you just use autofill and drag down the rest, and boom. It's done in one simple swoop. Okay, which is really great. That's a nice feature within Excel. Now, one other thing we need to figure out is how much do we pay everybody. Okay, so now we're going to write a different formula. Okay, I'm going to show you one more formula here. Real simple. And so what we have to figure out is how many hours somebody worked times the rate of pay. Okay, to figure out how much to pay them for that week. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a formula. It's real simple, and I'm just going to start out just like the last one. And we're talking about Brian, who has worked 43 hours this week, and he gets paid $5.96 an hour. Okay? So I'm going to double click on J3, where it says total, right underneath that, and I'm going to write a formula. It's just going to start off the same way. Equals. I want J3 to equal H3, and I'm going to use the asterisk button on my numeric keypad here, which is just, it's another way to say times, okay, or multiply. And then I'm going to use the next cell, which is I3. So I'm going to type in I3. So it shows me in two different color boxes what I'm getting ready to do. Real simple, that's it. Enter, and boom, it does all the math for me. Okay? So I'm going to show you that one more time with Chris, my head waiter. Chris worked 35 hours this week, and he gets paid $3.14 an hour. Okay? That's not including his tips. So all I'm going to say is equal. I want J4 to equal H4 times, and how I hit times is just this asterisk button. Okay? Times I4, and then hit equal. So you can see here that Brian made $256.28 and Chris made $109.90. Okay? Now, again, why would I go through and write that formula for everybody? You don't. Just write it in the first line. Use your autofill function. Just click on that cell. Place your cursor right over that tiny black box in the bottom right corner. Click and drag. Click and drag straight down. Let go, and boom, does all your work for you. Okay? Real simple. All right. Now, one other thing I would like for you to see is that, you know, our formula is not constrained to just a vertical or a horizontal move. Okay? It could go over a whole range of cells. So say, for example, I needed to figure out what my productivity was for this week. Okay? How many hours did my employees put in working this week? So I want to figure out everybody's hours. So if I go down here, we'll just say for giggles, we want to total up everybody's hours. So I'm going to say, I'm going to write a formula that's going to be equals sum, left parentheses, the first cell in my range of cells, which would be, in this case, C3. I'm going to use the colon button to say through, okay? And then I'm going to use the last cell in my range of cells, in which case it's not just horizontal. We're going to go vertical as well. So we're going to say G8. G8. You can see it draws a big blue square around all that range of cells. I'm going to cap that parentheses there, and then just hit enter, and boom, it shows me my company has worked 267 hours of work productivity this week. Okay? I can also do the same kind of thing with the total, okay, but you can figure that out. Now, let me show you a couple other quick little things that you might need to see and that you might run into. One of which being, if you can just zoom right in here on this where it says Sheet 1, Sheet 2, Sheet 3. On Sheet 1, we might want to rename that because if we've got multiple sheets, I don't know which one my payroll's on, okay? So how do I change that? Well, I just right-click on Sheet 1. I'm going to go up to Rename, okay? We'll click that, and you'll see it turns to black. Okay, that just means I'm ready to type. I don't have to hit anything, backspace or anything. I can just go ahead and start typing. And I'm going to type payroll. Okay. Now, the other thing I might want to do to help me distinguish between, money, and, here's the payroll, here's money, and then say, this is overhead going out or whatever, however you would want to set up your spreadsheet. But to change the color tab, the tab color, I should say, to change that, all you got to do is right-click on the tab, okay, and go up to tab color. And I'm going to change this to the color of money, okay, green. Now, if you'll see just an underline underneath that word that will be the color you selected. That doesn't mean that it didn't apply. What it just means is that this is the one that's highlighted. So if I click on sheet 2, if you'll look there, you can see now, okay, yeah, it is colored. The payroll tab is colored now, that color green. But when I select that tab, it seems like it disappears, but it doesn't. You can tell that it's there by the small underline, the color underline. So we went over today. Let's talk about real quick what we went over. We showed you the autofill function, okay? And if you wanted to do, say for example, I'm going to click on sheet 2 just to give you an example, and I'll zoom in a bit for you so you can see a little better. But say I put in today's date, today being 8/23/10, okay? Say that's today's date. If I wanted to fill in dates for the next 30 days, real simple. I'm just going to put my cursor over that small black box in the bottom right corner and use my autofill tool, click and drag down, and it'll give me the dates for the next several days. Now, if it happens to look like this, just number signs, okay, all you need to do is just put your cursor between the letter A and B to where it turns into that double-headed arrow, double click, and it'll auto-fill for you, or auto-adjust the column size to fit your information. So, very easy. We talked about how to rename the tab. We talked about how to change the color of the tab. We talked about some different formulas to use. Very simple formula of how to just represent what's in one cell and put it in another, which is just equals and then that cell number. Very simple. We also talked about how to do the sum of a range of cells, which is pretty simple. And we talked about how to multiply some cells together. Very simple as well. We also talked about some of the looks of some things, how to change the color of a cell, how to merge and center a cell, the font of some text, and the font color. Now having this information, you should be able to do any basic setup within Excel. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me, come by and see me, or shoot me an email. I'm here to help you at any time. Thanks for watching, and go do your assignment.